Good afternoon. It's like on Ryanair when you come late, then the middle seat is left for you. Good afternoon and welcome to this session for the big boys, or for the big girls, I should say, because this afternoon we're talking scale operations. So we're going to leave a little bit the many places during these days where you hear about technology and lab trials. Started outside of Italy. Last couple of years, I had my hands on many smart metering projects. Usually, it went for the positive. Now and then, also one or the other failed. But so I have quite a bag of experience with me. For this afternoon, I'm very pleased to announce seven speakers. Very diverse lineup. So we go from all the north, from Finland down to Spain, and that nobody can say the Europeans are self-centric. We have even a speaker joining us from the United States. Also in terms of project that we are highlighting, we're looking at completely different type of projects. Some are just behind the pilot or doing pilots, and others are in the middle of something that's really going to be big. And also in terms of company size, we are diverse. So they are giants, as we try to call them, that have millions of meter points and call this large scale. And we have other utilities that will report from their scale rollout that is a couple of 100,000 meter points. So I really hope that we can present this afternoon an exciting presentations, exciting insights in what's happening in smart metering rollouts here in Europe, and also some learning. Learning, and I go a little bit back in when I did a project in Sweden, I also was faced with how you do a rollout. And I had to learn it with a lot of pain. We had a little disruption in the logistics, so we didn't get the products. My installers, 150, they were in the field, and they were doing this, I might be doing this, but still, they wanted to see salary. And the clock and the project plan was running. So at the very end, I had to pay project people for the idle time. I had to pay the installer for catching up the lost time, and I had to pay a penalty to my customer. So if you do not prepare this rollout carefully, you are hit and you may be penalized 2 or 3 times. And maybe this session this afternoon will help a little bit that the one of or the other of you that will be faced with such projects can do better and can do perform and maybe even outperform the project plans. We will have this afternoon, so we have, 4 speakers till to the coffee break. The format is about 20 minutes presentation, 1 question from yourself, then we have 3 speakers after the break, and at the very end we have a panel, so all the speakers come up again, and for the last half an hour you can ask as many questions as you still have energy for. Huh? Good. When we talked about rollouts and where we stand with rollouts in EMEA, and when I look back a couple of years, so 2005, 2006, I would have thought in 2012 the queue for speakers that would want to report from rollouts would be huge. And everybody would have this already behind or would be in the middle of it. While you all know, it came differently. But still, today, it is not anymore the question, will these rollouts happening? So it's not the question after the if, but a little bit more about the when and about the how. Now I forgot this one. Maybe you hear it from my accent, I'm from Switzerland. And This is for my speakers. Just to remind them, it's 20 minutes, and not 20 hours or 2 hours, it's 20 minutes. Don't worry, I left the bull at home. So now we're ready for the first speaker. I'm very pleased to announce the first speaker who is representing a DSO here from our host country, from Holland. And again, when we look at Holland, we would have thought by 2012, Holland would be in the middle of a full-scale rollout. We all know it came a little bit differently. The distribution system operators had, after a political decision, to go back to square one and rethink their plan. And given this background, it is probably even more of interest how a company like Enexis now approaches smart meter and how they look into the future. So Lonneke Driessen-Mutters is the manager of smart meter operations at Enexis. She is responsible for the choice, implementation of communications technologies and IT infrastructure. I had the chance to meet you quite a few times. I know you are a thought leader here, and you will share with us the plans for the implementation of system security and the G3-PLC. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Andreas. Okay, welcome everybody this afternoon. As Andreas said, I'd like to tell you this afternoon a little bit more about our G3-PLC pilot that we're currently conducting, and also about the system security we have implemented in this pilot. But first, a little bit of the situation in the Netherlands at the moment, or at Enexis at the moment. Not sure where to point. There I am. Okay, so at the moment, Enexis is installing GPRS meters at this phase of the rollout, but we are still have to make a choice about what technology we will use for the large-scale rollout. As of 2011, and for the next few years, Enexis will install GPRS, because by law in the Netherlands, every new meter a DSO installs must be a smart meter. And that means that for every new meter, every new built home, every meter replacement, meter failure, when a new meter is installed, it is a smart meter. And on top of that, in the Netherlands, a customer can ask for a priority installation, and then they get a smart meter at the moment that they'd like. And this means that the way we install smart meters in the Netherlands right now is scattered across the grid. So it's not a rollout from street to street, but it's here and there a meter. And therefore, GPRS is the technology to use. It's a point-to-point technology. For Enexis, at this moment, we have 220,000 smart meters in the grid, and our rollout speed is 1,000 meters a day. And this means a very slow and gradual introduction of smart metering at Enexis. But if we continue at this pace, we will never make the 2020 target, of course, that all European countries are aware of. So this means that Enexis at some point will have to scale up and proceed to a large-scale rollout. And we will start that approximately around 2015. And of course, our deadline, the end, is in 2020. So we are currently using GPRS, but for the large-scale rollout, we think we need another technology. And the technology Enexis is looking at is PLC, of course, and I will explain why. First of all, let me be clear about GPRS. We have GPRS now, and it works very well. It has a good performance, it's scalable. We are very happy with the service provider who is providing the GPRS solution. So there's nothing wrong with GPRS, it's just the price. It is expensive. First of all, the meters, GPRS meters are more expensive than PLC meters. Of course, the GPRS data communication costs are high. And lastly, in the Netherlands, for Enexis, we have a vendor lock-in, because we have a SIM card inside the meter, and that's fixed for the system, for the data communications operator. And Enexis is not happy with a vendor lock-in. So those are the downsides of GPRS, and we think PLC could provide a very cost-effective alternative. We know that PLC will be the most widely used data communication technology in Europe, at least. Not only for smart metering, but also for the future, for smart grids. And it is developing rapidly. We have tested all our PLC technologies in the past, and the results were not good enough for the requirements of Enexis, so we couldn't use those. But at the moment, there is a lot of development going on. And those are done by European member states or DSOs within European member states because they also need the 2020 target limit to meet that target. There are currently several new generations of PLC out there, and they all provide interoperability, which is very important to Enexis because Enexis will never use a technology that is not interoperable. There are open standards, and they have high performance. So there is plenty to choose from. Well, Enexis had a look at all the or a lot of the technologies, and we evaluated them, and we decided that the PLC technology for Enexis is G3-PLC, and I will explain to you why Enexis has chosen G3-PLC. So first of all, to the left, you see the requirements of Enexis. What do we need? Well, first of all, the communication technology should be very reliable, and it should be compliant with Dutch requirements. So at least it should perform as well as GPRS. And in the Netherlands, and I will get back to that later on in the presentation, security is very important. So the technology must meet all the Dutch security requirements. Secondly, the PLC solution should be in time to meet the 2020 target. I said before, Enexis will start up large-scale rollout around 2015 and finish in 2020. And lastly, the PLC solution should be widely available because Enexis is a small DSO, we're not very large. So we need solutions from the market. So we need multiple vendors who are developing the PLC technology. And we also, of course, as I said before, we want interoperable meters. So the 4 reasons why we selected G3-PLC are, first of all, we think that the design of G3-PLC is very impressive. So we are confident that based on the design, we will be able to meet the performance requirements and we can implement the full security that is necessary in the Netherlands. Second of all, G3-PLC is a very new technology. It's currently, there are a couple of thousands of meters in the field. But we think that we still have 8 years until 2020, so we can benefit from a couple of years more innovation and still meet the 2020 targets. The third reason is ERDF is a very big DSO in Europe and even globally, and they are the initiator of G3-PLC, and that will guarantee that there will be a lot of attention from the market and a lot of meter vendors, chip vendors will be interested in this technology because ERDF is a market of 35 million and that will attract a lot of players. And the final reason is G3-PLC is an international open standard and of course Enexis wants that. But that's not to say that this is the only solution, that you have 2 other very good solutions. First of all is meters and more, and Robert will in a short while tell you all about that. Meters and more is currently in large-scale deployment. They are rolling out large numbers, and G3-PLC is not ready for large-scale rollout yet. But we think at Enexis that we can wait a year or 2. You also have, of course, Prime, and Prime and G3, they are very similar in the design and their approach. It's also an ITU standard. It's also being sponsored or being initiated by a very large European DSO, Iberdrola, a very nice company. But mainly based on points 1 and 2, the design and the timing, those were the factors that made Enexis to decide to choose G3-PLC. Now, once we've chosen this technology, of course, we want to do a pilot. And our pilot that we're conducting now consists of 2 steps that I will explain to you now. The first step, step 1, is we have installed in August, so a couple of weeks ago, we installed only 250 G3 meters in the field to get a first feel of the performance and the way G3 works. And I will show you later on the results of those first 250 meters. But the second step, we want to add some features that we think Enexis needs. We will use not a conventional store and forward data concentrator that you usually see with PLC, but we will use a gateway which supports end-to-end all-IP connections. So it sort of routes the information from the information system to the meter and backwards. The second part we want to implement is the full security, because in the Netherlands, the Minister of Economic Affairs, who is in charge of the large-scale of smart metering in general, she stated that smart metering should be as secure as electronic banking. So that's what we need to do in the Netherlands. So we are implementing security in the G3-PLC that will make it as secure as electronic banking. And finally, interoperability. In this pilot, we will use 2 meter vendors as I can't say it enough, Enexis wants interoperability. Well, the second step with the gateway, the security and the interoperability, we are currently testing, so it's not in the field yet, and we will install them in January. Well, first, a little bit more about the gateway. Why would we want to try out if a gateway would be a good idea? Here you see a sort of a picture of how it would look like. To the left you see the Enexis information system, which connects at this moment over GPRS to the gateway, which is located in the LV substation and talks through G3-PLC to the meters. And basically all the gateway does, it identifies the meters which are on the low voltage grid, sends that information to the information system, and then from then on the information system handles everything, all the reading, all the key handling, all the scheduling, so all the intelligence and the logic is inside the information system, and the gateway is just routing the messages. 4 reasons why we like to see if this is a good approach in practice is, first of all, it enables us a standard DLMS communication straight to the meters. So it's very transparent and it's very easy for interoperability. We think it's less complicated to have actually basically nothing in the gateway. There's no logic there. This is very, very simple. And we think at Enexis that smart metering is complicated enough. We think we should do everything to make the system as simple as possible. So that's the second reason. Third reason is this way you get a direct communication to the meter and feedback from the meter. So it looks very similar to GPRS, very similar to a point-to-point connection. And lastly, what's very important is that we don't store anything on the gateway. The data is just passed through. So we don't store any security keys on the gateway. We don't store any customer data on the gateway. The gateway is situated in a low voltage substation, and in the Netherlands, a low voltage substation isn't regarded a secured environment. So we think it's very good to have nothing there. So if you were to hack the gateway, there's nothing there for you to see. It's only encrypted information that's going back and forth. Just to tell you a little bit more about security. Here's a little bit more information about the system. To the left, again, the information system of Enexis, which of course uses a database, but on top of that, we have implemented a crypto server, which is basically a digital safe, and all the meter keys are stored inside that crypto server, and all the meter handling, the key handling of the meters is done inside the crypto server. Because if at some point maybe someone could hack the Enexis information system, they still can't get access to the security keys of all the meters because they're in the crypto server. And this is a crypto server that is also used for credit card transactions. So it's actually very, very similar to electronic banking, you could say. Well, here we have, in the Netherlands, we have a requirement of full end-to-end security. So this G3-PLC pilot will have that as well. So we will have end-to-end encryption and end-to-end authentication between the information system and the meter. And we are using industry standards. So the protocols that you see here are just standards. It's nothing specific or special. And at the lower level, the data link level, for maybe someone who is made more into security, of course GPRS has its own security mechanism, and G3-PLC also has at MAC layer a security mechanism called AES-CCM, whatever. So this is the way we are implementing security in Enexis anyway, but also in this G3-PLC pilot. That's very important. Well, this is all new. Gateway is a new approach. End-to-end security over PLC is a new approach. And you'd almost forget that G3 itself is also very new. So that's the reason why I told you we did the first step of G3-PLC just to see if it works and how it works. And for that, the 250 meters that are currently installed, this is what we did. We just chose a normal grid, nothing special. And we randomly installed a meter, and we didn't consider the grid topology. On purpose, we just selected customers and installed the meter there, just to see if it was plug and play. And because the number of meters were limited, only 35% of the meters in the area are G3. The rest are still conventional meters. So you could say that the saturation rate of G3 meters in the grid is 35%. And the results, I show you the results after a couple of weeks, and we are very impressed by the results. If you look at the meter discovery, how many meters that we installed could we see? And after we finished installation, we saw 99% of all the meters instantly in our system. And 2 meters we couldn't see. And we went to have a look at them, and they were defect because they're prototypes. We replaced them with new meters, and we have 100% of discovery, even with a saturation rate of 35%, and you can't get any better than 100%. So we are it's very promising. If you look at data collection, in the Netherlands, the interval values is 15 minutes. So we collect 15-minute values of all the meters, and to stress the system, we do this 4 times, for this pilot, 4 times a night, 12, 2, 4, and 6 o'clock in the morning. And there we get 98% of all the data. And of course, since we get connectivity 100%, we are going to look how can we get the data collection at this pilot at 100%. So this means that we are looking at the grid topology, where's the missing 2%, and we've identified some meters which are basically too far away from a neighbor or a DC. So we're going to install some additional meters and try to find this 100%. But so far we are very optimistic, and we're very confident that we can proceed with the security in the gateway, and we are very anxious to see how things will be in January. I think I didn't hear the bell from Andrea, so I'm okay for time. But thank you. This is all. I think this is all I have time for now. But if you want, of course, more information, you can always contact me or visit any of the demos that are around at the exhibition floor at several booths.
Okay, thank you very much, Lonneke. I hear a lot of news, so you will certainly have quite a challenge also in the risk management. If something might fail or might not go.
Yeah.
But it is certainly a very, very ambitious plan, and I wish you all the best. And we will certainly see next year or the year after where you stand and how the outcome is.
Next year.
Is there a question right now? So we have time to take one question here from the audience, something you would like to know? So note them down for the final Q&A session then. And thank you, Lonneke, and I think you have really deserved an applause.